Yo, welcome back to the channel, boys and girls. In today's video, we are taking a first look at these Elite Wheels Drive Helix 68D wheels. I'm really interested to try these wheels out on the road because nowadays on the market in 2024, a lot of the Chinese brands have been pumping out wheels that are essentially all the same, and they also are going to perform the same as well. So I'm interested to try these out because these wheels from Elite Wheels are a little bit more unique than what we've been seeing. And so in today's video, guys, we're going to be talking about just exactly what these wheels are. We're going to be talking about the price, the specs. We're going to weigh these wheels out. And then of course, we're going to take these wheels out on the road so I can give you some of my first initial thoughts on these wheels. So without further ado, let's begin. First and foremost, full disclosure, Elite Wheels, they did send these wheels out to me for testing and review. Huge shout out to them on that front. And if you have been following my channel for some time now, you know that at this point, I've actually reviewed 3 different set of wheels from Elite Wheels. The first were the Drive 45D wheels, the 65D wheels, the super depth wheels. I really have been enjoying those wheels. And then most recently has been the Velo 6 wheels, which is the monocoque design that has the super thick 6-bladed carbon aero spokes. And so these Helix line of wheels is their latest addition in the Elite Wheels lineup. Now, earlier this year, Elite Wheels, they did actually release the flagship version of these Helix wheels. And with those wheels came with carbon spokes, and it also came with their highly controversial helical dual ratchet system. Now, the reason why I decided to go with these ones, now the ones I have, these are the SS version, meaning the steel spokes. And the reason why I went with the steel spokes version versus the carbon spoke version is because these wheels in this particular lineup of the SS line, they come in at a more affordable price. The flagship version of these with that dual ratchet system and carbon spokes, those come in at $1,599 USD versus these lines. This one in particular comes in at $1,189 USD. I'm not sure if I will have a code on these since these just were released, but nonetheless, I do have a code if you would like to purchase any of Elite Wheels' previous line of wheels. Now that we've established the price point on these wheels, $1,189 USD, let's go ahead and talk about some of the specs on these wheels. So as you guys can see, and as I've already said, the design of these wheels has an undulating design similar to Zip, what they have with their NSW line of wheels, kind of resembles a whale fin. But nonetheless, for the rim depth on the front wheel, it varies between 55 millimeters and 61 millimeters for the deepest part. And then on the rear wheel, which is a staggered setup, that varies from 62 millimeters all the way up to 68 millimeters. So as you can see with this particular set that I selected, the idea behind this one is for all-out aero purposes. The inner width on this, or the internal width, is 21 millimeters. I would have liked to see 22 or even 23 millimeters internal, since that is the trend with modern wheels, but nonetheless, that is what you're stuck with. Now, the outer width on this is, for the front wheel, 31.8 millimeters. The rear wheel is 30.8 millimeters. Now, moving on to the spokes, I've already mentioned already, but this version comes with steel spokes, which is why they are a little bit more affordable. And then for the bearings, rather than having ceramic bearings, these ones have steel spokes. And the last thing, which is probably the most important feature on this, is the hubs on these uses the all popular now in Chinese wheels, the Star Ratchet Engagement 36 tooth. I believe DT Swiss, their first iteration of their Star Ratchet design, the patent has now lapsed, which is why you are seeing a lot of these Chinese brands using that particular style of hubs. So at this price point, you are not getting the helical dual ratchet system that you're getting with like the $1,600 version. And personally for myself, those hubs are probably over-engineered. I'm not an engineer. And so with this version of the hub, it's just a traditional DT Swiss style of hub. They're going to be easy to maintain and they're going to be easy to service as well. Now, you might be asking yourself, why did I opt for going with the Sapum CX-Ray steel spoke version of these wheels rather than the carbon spoke version? As you guys know, if you have been following my channel for some time, you know that my preferred spoke is the carbon spokes. However, at this point, because I have tested so many carbon spoke wheels, particularly from the Chinese brands, to be honest, a lot of them do essentially perform the same. And at this point now, it is nice to go back to steel spokes. there are some advantages with going with the steel spoke. Even though they will be slightly heavier than the carbon spoke variant, one thing that you do get is you cannot deny the comfort that comes with steel spokes, especially if you are out on the road for your long endurance days. Sure, it's not going to have that initial snap, but the reality is, unless you are in situations where you need that initial snap that carbon spokes offers, steel spokes are just a fantastic option. If you go to any local bike shop and say you happen to damage or something happens to one of your steel spokes, you have the confidence knowing that your local bike shop will probably have replacements in order to replace those steel spokes. Let's briefly talk about the fit and finish on these wheels. So with this gloss look on these rims, I absolutely love the way it looks. It just really pops in the sunlight. I understand that having gloss wheels is not everybody's cup of tea, but I just really love it. It looks fantastic. And one of the things that Elite Wheels has always done a fantastic job on is with the fit and finish. From the finishing on the rims to just the way the spokes have been installed, even the tubeless rim tape. Elite Wheels does a fantastic job with installing the tubeless rim tape. You could barely even tell that the tubeless rim tape is there, but of course it is there. And then you also get a product manual. You have the tubeless valves pre-installed from the factory, and even just the packaging of the box altogether. Elite Wheels, they did a really good job paying attention to the small details, and these are the things that a customer is going to expect given the price point.
Go on and do it. Do it. Do it till you're satisfied, whatever it is. Hey, shout out to BT Express with their classic banger of a song and LP, Do It Till You're Satisfied. Hey, I'm out here wearing my wife's chancletas. But anyway, let's go ahead and weigh out these Elite Drive Helix 68D wheels. Now, just for a quick recap, we have Sapum CX Ray steel spokes, steel bearings. We have a star ratchet hub engagement. Internal width is like 21 millimeters. External width is around 31 millimeters. And then the advertised weight on these is 1,490 grams, plus or minus 30 grams. So first we have the rear wheel. The rear wheel weighs 837 grams, 837 grams. Let's go ahead and weigh out the front wheel. Front wheel weighs 700 grams, which gives us a total of 1,537 grams. So if the advertised weight is 1,490 plus or minus 30, I would say that's within spec. A little bit heavy, but nonetheless, this is where we are at. So let's continue. So I realized that when I initially weighed out these wheels, I forgot to remove the tubeless valves. So let's go ahead and get those removed. Of course, tubeless rim tape is still installed. So by doing that, we get a grand total for both the front and rear wheel, 1,521 grams. So 1,521 grams, tubeless rim tape installed, and then the tubeless valves have been removed. While we are still on the topic of weight, the list you're seeing in front of you, these are all the disc brake wheels that I have ever tested and reviewed on my channel. I believe there are about 25 different sets of wheels here. Pretty comprehensive. And as you can see, this is the real world weight that I have weighed for all these wheels. So at the top, highlighted in yellow, those are the number 6 wheels. I've recently had those on my channel, the 4550. Those came in at 1,272 grams, but those are on the pricier side. Next up, you see all the ones that are highlighted in blue. Those are all the wheels that I have tested and reviewed specifically from Elite Wheels. So the 45D wheels came in at 1,288 grams, moving down to the 65D, 1,488 grams, and then highlighted in purple, you can see these are the Elite Drive Helix 68D wheels, 1,521 grams, and of course at the bottom, the super enjoyable but heavy Elite Wheels Velo 6 wheels, and those came in at 1,625 grams. Free hub sound test on these Elite Drive Helix 68D wheels with a 36 tooth star ratchet engagement. Steel bearings. Yo, that is filthy. So let's continue.
And finally, let's talk about my first initial thoughts on these wheels now that I've gotten a chance to ride them out on the road. First, let's talk about some of the highlights on these wheels. So number one, no doubt these wheels are aerodynamic. Given that these are the deeper depth version compared to the other two sets that Elite Wheels offers in this particular design, there's no doubt that these wheels are fast and they are aerodynamic. Once you get up to that prescribed speed you're looking for, there's no question that these wheels are going to be faster compared to a set of wheels that are more shallow. Now, this is specifically when you are riding by yourself. If you're in a group ride where drafting is very important, then it doesn't really matter how deep or how shallow your set of wheels are, because drafting is going to account for a lot of the speed. However, if you are out on the road by yourself doing a long solo endurance ride, no doubt having a deeper set of wheels are just going to be faster. The second highlight on these is the crosswind stability. I don't think that this particular undulating design, I wouldn't go as far as to say it's a complete game changer, but there is something to be said that these do handle crosswinds a little bit better than some of just the straight up, for example, the Elite Wheels 65D wheels that has a 65 depth wheel both in the front and rear of that set of wheels. These are definitely better in the crosswinds than O's for sure. And I've tested wheels in the past that have used a similar design, and I can attest that there is some sort of stability to be had here with this design. And the third thing is, because you are getting a set of wheels that are using steel spokes, the Sapum CX raised spokes, they are comfortable over rough pavement. Even though they are only 21 millimeters internal width, you know right away when you are riding on a set of wheels that are using steel spokes, because just that little bit extra comfort is very, very tangible. Now, next up, let's talk about some of the lows on these wheels. So number one is the weight. There's really no way to get around the weight on these. Now, granted, they are a aero set of wheels, the weight is still there. And especially nowadays, whether it's from the Western brands or the Chinese brands, where we're starting to see wheels come in at under 1,300 grams. I do have a few set of wheels myself that come in under that 1,300 gram mark. It's very tangible when you are accelerating that you can feel that extra weight. And at this point, I've tested almost about 30 sets of wheels. You can really tell the difference between that 200 to 250 gram weight penalty. And number two is the internal width. Now, like I said previously, because you are getting steel spokes, yes, these wheels are comfortable and they are firm at the same time. But I do believe that having that internal width be closer to 22 or 23 would just give you a little bit of extra comfort as well, even though it does say on Elite's website that these are optimized for 28 or 30C tires. I think just having that wider internal width just allows you to run a wider variety of tires. And also too, because you are running steel spokes, you are going to have that comfort, no doubt, but that initial snap that carbon spokes give you, there's just really no way to really compare that with steel spokes. But nonetheless, those are the high and lows on these wheels, guys. So like I said at the outset of this video, this is just an initial impressions on these wheels. Even though it's going to be getting cold here in just a couple of months, my plan is to continue to use these wheels throughout the fall so I can give you a more comprehensive breakdown of what I think about these wheels. But so far, at a high level, at the price point, the fit and finish that you get, and just the reputation that Elite Wheels has in the Chinese branded market, or even just in the wheel market in general, I'm really excited for these wheels. And I'm happy and I'm glad to see that Elite Wheels is constantly pushing the envelope, offering up these new design of wheels, something that we're not really seeing a lot with the other brands from the Chinese powerhouses on the market today. So that's going to do for today's video, guys. A huge shout out to Elite Wheels for sending me out these wheels, these Helix wheels to try out. And of course, guys, questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to leave them down below, and I will check you guys on the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.